Hello, this is Mila, and this is my Gus Chronicles Part 3 assignment for Psych 415 with Dr. Gorman. So, for the first question, what is your reaction to Gus's mom's letter? Gus's mom's letter felt very honest and candid. However, it was too much information just to share with a child. So, you can say it was inappropriate. His mom is still very much figuring out her own stuff. She's finally stepping back and connecting the dots to all that's happened in her life, the different paths that led her to be where she is today. You can tell she's excited to finally gain some insight into what's made her who she is, how different events in her life caused her to be a certain way or pushed her into this or that direction. She's finally making sense of it all. She's understanding the concept of action, reaction, and consequences, not only for what was out of her control in her own life that affected her in negative ways, but also what was in her control and the actions she took with her own son and how that affected him and consequently also affected her. And how, even though what she had control of per se, she didn't really have conscious control of because she was so messed up from all the abuse she suffered. So she was acting from a place of trauma, immaturity, and really just being emotionally and intellectually underdeveloped. She's finally gaining some insight into her life as a whole, and she's eager to share that with her son because she feels if he's privy to it, it may help him understand her journey and not take her mistakes so personally. And maybe this can take away some of his pain. If she can help him see that in all the ways that she messed up, it was never because she didn't love him or because she wanted to mess up or consciously chose to mess up. No, it was a product, a consequence of all she had endured in her own life that made her this inadequate mother who never properly cared for her kid to the point that he ended up in foster care. Was she a bad mother? Yes, absolutely. But it wasn't deliberate. It was not deliberate. And this is the main message she's trying to convey in this letter. Yes, it's a lot to take in, and Gus is too young to be the recipient of all of this information. But I do believe her intentions were good, and in the long run, Gus can fall back on everything he learned in this letter to better understand where he came from, his mother's background, and his family history. Ideally, having made further progress, his mother would reach out to him with a focus on him, making it about him and not about her. The letter was very much about her, but it's a step in her progress, in her processing her own issues, and eventually, hopefully, she'll get to a place where she can simply focus on him and the little things that are important to rebuilding their relationship so the bigger things, the bigger changes can happen. So, now my thoughts on his reaction to the letter. I feel his reaction was justified. Mostly he was angry, frustrated, scared, and sad. I'm sure there are many layers to his reaction on levels he doesn't even realize. He was angry that deep down the letter gave him hope that his mom would come back into his life. Angry that he might be in for another roller coaster ride and she'll mess up again, let him down again. He was anxious and frustrated about the unfolding of this chapter and what will happen next. will she actually make an effort and come back into his life? Will he really hear from her again? Or will she disappear again? She sounds sincere in the letter, and she's been through so much. I believe a part of him sympathizes with her on some level and feels bad for her and all that she's been through. But another part of him is guarded because he doesn't trust her. He can't trust her. He can't allow himself to trust her. He'd only be setting himself up for disappointment. She will most likely end up messing up again. It's a mess. It's too much. It's too much for a kid to process, let alone a kid who already has so much emotional baggage. Now, the next question is, would you have reacted the same way if you were in his shoes? That's a pretty difficult question to answer because I didn't live through what he did, and I'm not a young teenager in foster care. But if I were, there's a good chance I would have reacted the same way he did, yes. And now for the final question, if you were working with him, would you have handled it in the same way? Why or why not? So the book doesn't really go into what his therapy session was like after he read the letter. If you mean the staff member who came into his room to call him down to dinner, I feel he did a great job. He didn't take it personal when Gus swore at him and was rude to him. You know, that staff member, he didn't punish Gus for that behavior. He tried to understand what was going on and sympathize with Gus in that moment. Then he gave him the space that he asked for. I felt that that staff member did a great job. As his therapist, I would reach out to his mom and offer her some guidance regarding their communication going forward. So she puts more emphasis on building a relationship with Gus, a focus on the building blocks of their relationship, as opposed to fully disclosing and focusing on her issues that led her to mess up as a mother. That's important too, but it's something she needs to focus on separately from her interactions with her son.